This situation was crazy. One of the rarest animals on the planet. To protect its life, to protect this species.
I didn't expect it to be like this.
How protect a rhino from poachers in South Africa. One thing that you're not going to see in this documentary series is my introduction to South Africa. 5 o'clock in the morning, the sun is rising. I'm in a light aircraft with no doors on it.
Oh, shit.
Flying over national protected areas.
We got some fun. Let's go. Let's do this. Got a nice office, eh?
Ah, what a great office.
So our job mainly would be in the instance of poaching to get overhead. So we want to try and scare them.
Okay.
So what they do is they go into hiding and lie down in the bushes to try and get away from the plane. What that gives our ground team enough time to catch up to the poachers with the dogs, and it becomes a hot pursuit chasing, that sort of thing. I know it's hard to hear this, but when you do this job and you see dead rhino, I would say almost on a monthly basis, it really becomes quite numbing to you, if that makes sense.
There is no better way to get a view and perspective over this magical place than being up here doing it how I did. But there's a different side to South Africa and Zulu-Natal, and I got to experience that firsthand.
Today, many young Zulu men are dealing with the effects of post-colonial rule. These local people live off their land like they have done for thousands of years and gain little to nothing from the wildlife tourism that operates near their homes.
You can see, if you look around, you can see the conditions of their houses. And to where we are going now, they don't have water in the village.
I have to try and understand sometimes why people would go into that life of poaching.
You can't take a side on this. Some, they really need to put the food on the table. The families are struggling.
Yeah. The poachers taking that risk generally come from poor communities living near the game reserves.
So it's a big animal. When you miss or whenever you run into the security guard, then that means you lose your life at the same time.
Which makes it hard not to feel like the wild animals are valued more highly than the lives of the local Zulus living in the same rural areas. I've asked Zama if he can get me in touch with some young men in the village who hunt for bushmeat in the traditional way, outside the protected areas.
There's no guns. I thought it was going to be guns today.
No guns.
So, the dogs?
The dogs are doing the work.
The team wanted us to stand on a cliffside and watch the hunt, but I had to capture this footage firsthand so people can see how tough these guys have to fight for a simple daily meal.
The hunt is officially on. I'm on foot with the guys with a GoPro, because there's no way that if these dogs go and these guys go, that our cameramen are going to be able to keep up. So it's down to me today.
Oh, action, they're going.
They've seen the red diker.
Yeah, they're chasing. The dogs are chasing it now. Okay, we're going, yeah? Yeah? Okay.
Now they've located their kill, the chase is on, and I've got to keep up with the pack.
Fuck it. I'm going. And this terrain is fucking deadly. What's happening?
I don't know, man. It looked like the dogs just missed it.
The fact that there's 12 dogs, 8 hunters, and the dikers gave him the slip, it's made me really happy. There's nothing like an underdog story. Let's go, diker.
But the dogs pick up on the scent again and have taken us into some hardcore bush.
These dogs are like that long.
Look at that.
Ah, you fucker. We've drawn blood. All of this to get a bit of food. Fuck me. It feels good to see daylight again and be out of that shit. Hi.
After 4 hours of treacherous hunting, the boys seemed defeated and called off the hunt.
It was dangerous. It was painful getting cut and getting snagged on all the bushery. And in the end, it was unsuccessful. And it really highlighted a reality to me. Sometimes we can't be asked to get up and go to the fridge for a ready meal because it's a bit of inconvenience. These guys can hunt for hours and hours and hours on end and go through danger and come up short.
You know, thank you for introducing me to the gun biz. I thought 100% wouldn't poach. I definitely wouldn't poach. And then when I go to a community like that and I see that there is absolutely no other way to earn money most of the time, maybe things will be a bit different for me. If I see my kids go hungry, maybe it'd have to be the rhino. In 2008, a rhino poaching crisis struck South Africa, when rhino deaths suddenly spiked upward, peaking in 2014, before they started to slowly decrease. I want to know how the reserves handled this onslaught from poachers and what they did to bring the numbers back down.
A couple of years within that period, 3 or 4 years, we lost 18 rhino to poaching, which is obviously devastating. It was quite a hard decision to make, but the choice was I was either going to attend a rhino crime scene the next day, or I was going to attend a horn trimming.
Removing the horn, along with the incentive for a poacher to kill the rhino. It's a quick and painless procedure, but it needs to be performed within a narrow time frame. To pull off a massive operation like this takes a full crew of rangers, vets, and security guards all working together.
To have a male black rhino. And within 5 minutes or so, we'll be with the rhino.
It takes a skilled marksman to take down just over a ton of rhino with a powerful tranquilizer dart. The team needs to check if the rhino is completely sedated before the dehorning can begin.
I think we'll just have to go on foot from here.
Actually, let's put the earplugs in first. Pop that one in there.
To minimize any stress, I'm helping dull the rhino's senses with the earplugs and a blindfold.
So hold it like that.
Oh, wow. Mike, the head vet, is behind the chainsaw. Rhino horns are mostly made of keratin, the exact same protein that makes up our hair and nails. It might look brutal, but it's just like trimming your fingernails. And like fingernails, rhino horns grow back, so it's a process they need to repeat again and again. A lot of care goes into removing as much horn as possible, so there is nothing left for a poacher.
So this is as much as we can do, but as you can see, what we do is we shave down the sides to remove as much of this horn as possible, so it leaves the barest of minimum there, okay?
We just put a bit of oil on this, on there, just to... Oh my goodness, look at you.
I mean, I can't see what I look like now, but no one can say I didn't get involved.
So we're just putting a little bit of tea tree oil just to kind of help seal it and moisturize the horn just where we've cut it. Yeah, that looks good.
I tell you what, this has got to be one of the craziest but most special things I've done in my whole life. Honestly.
It's not ever in your life that you'll be able to feel a rhino breathe onto your hand.
Wow.
How amazing is that?
I think you can tell the sheer size of it just by the weight of the breaths.
This situation was crazy. One of the rarest animals on the planet. It was genuinely a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I am proud and I'm happy to have been a part of. And actually being part of a process which I know could well and truly save this rhino's life.
Wakey, wakey, big boy.
So this is the part where we have to move very fast.
Okay.
So I hope you guys have got your fast.
It's been a pleasure.
Love you, mate.
So I wanted to let you at least just feel the weight of the horn. And how crazy is that? But that's all it's about, all of this.
Ultimately, the real rhino killers are the buyers. And as long as their criminal desire for rhino horn continues, every last one of these majestic animals will be gone forever.
If you want to see me coming face to face with a poacher, head over to iPlayer.